Hello everyone and welcome to CPAC 2023. I'm your host Amelia Kane, and with me today is Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's great to be here, and I cannot say enough about the work that Judicial Watch does on the oversight front. We're hoping to really take that mantle in the House Republican Conference and see a lot of that great work through.
Absolutely. Tell us what it was like during the Speaker of the House votes.
So we wanted to change Washington. I think that Washington is a fundamentally corrupt place. And the organizing principle of our effort was to ensure that we never again had to vote on one of these omnibus pieces of spending legislation with only a few hours to read several thousand pages of legislative text, $1.7 trillion in spending, no ability to individually assess the budgets of agencies, what programs were working and not. And so we created a rule structure to ensure that we got that individualized review, and then we created an accountability system that wasn't really reliant on trust with the Speaker of the House, but instead service to those principles that were important to the membership. So I'm really happy how we concluded that matter, and now I'm hopeful that a unified Republican team can deliver wins for the American people.
Absolutely. We appreciate you staying strong during that fight.
Thank you. Not everyone did. Not everyone really got it. I'll have you know, there were a lot of folks on the right, some that are even taking the stage here at CPAC, that were very critical of the effort. And I know how important oversight is to Judicial Watch. And one of the key features of that Speaker conclusion was the weaponization subcommittee that now has the ability to look at how a lot of these agencies of government have been turned against the American people.
Absolutely. Now, you personally, have you experienced any Biden corruption while being congressman?
Well, what we've observed is a relationship between the Biden family and particularly China that's very concerning. I would probably add Ukraine to that list as well, with some of the Burisma allegations, which actually, the more I look into them, the more concerned I get about Burisma. But that affects the work I oversee on the Judiciary Committee, because Joe Biden seemed to take a lot of actions on behalf of China in dismantling President Trump's work to go after their influence operation. President Trump had set up a China initiative at the DOJ, and that went after their efforts to try to corrupt our academia, our political leaders, some of our businesses, and it had been successful. Biden got rid of it immediately, and I think that gives China a real green light to do more of that malign work.
Why do you think we are sending so much financial aid to Ukraine? What's the
It's
hidden
ridiculous.
agenda here?
Listen, I am the lead author of the Ukraine fatigue resolution to shut down the spigot of U.S. cash to Ukraine. We're even paying the pensions of Ukrainian officials. We have $1.4 trillion in unfunded pension liability in this country, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, and we are paying pension funds in Ukraine. I am not worried about Russian tanks that break down in Europe. For the American people, I'm worried about Russia's nuclear arsenal, and I don't understand what about which guy gets to run Crimea is so important that it risks a direct U.S. conflict with Russia. So I have tried to encourage my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to stand up against the U.S. continued involvement in this war. If there were a vote on the floor of the House today, I would get crushed on the Ukraine matter. Way more people in Congress in both parties want to keep sending your money and your military equipment to Ukraine, but the Congress is a lagging indicator here. The American people aren't going to be supportive of this war, and I think it's actually going to be a real political weight around Biden's neck in 2024. This war grows more unpopular by the day. And I think the American people are starting to legitimately question how their interests are implicated.
Absolutely. Do you sense that there's any deep state influence in this war?
Well, I think it's the defense contracting community that needs a war going on somewhere. And I think when we wound down Afghanistan, then we saw this thirst to have some place that we had to send weapons. And we really did so at the cost of our own stockpiles. And we have not enhanced global deterrence by doing this. A lot of the stockpiles we had were actually positioned for a potential China conflict over Taiwan. Now we've depleted those. I don't think that's going to make China more reticent. It seems to have made them more aggressive.
Well, thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you. Good conversation.
Of course. And for more on our work, please visit judicialwatch.org. Thank you.